10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Jbc Podcast. This is our third episode of college football. I'm your host, Chris. I'm joined with my co-host, Jacob.
Hey, guys.
And Brody.
What's going on?
And we're actually excited because we have a guest join us for the first time ever. He'll be our first guest. So this is Sebastian.
How's it going, ladies?
Hey.
Let's jump into some college football because we had a crazy weekend. So, what y'all thought about the weekend? How it went?
Perfect. Oh, you lost.
Perfect. Yeah. Makes up for Arkansas getting blown out, I guess.
I did this on purpose. I actually have a physical representation of OU's. Hold on, wrong way. OU's performance. If you look,
is
right
it a dumpster fire? Is it a dumpster fire?
It is a trash bag. So.
That's close enough.
Yeah. Big brain plays right there.
Yeah, it's big brain time.
Big brain.
Don't get me started on OU, man. Don't do that.
We'll love to hear what you have to say whenever we get there.
Yeah,
We're going to start off with recapping some of the games of this past weekend of the conferences, and then we're also going to, talk about what we think our top 5 is of that conference. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the ACC. We'll start with you, Brody. Who do you, talk about some games, what happened, what you thought, what surprised you, and then your top 5.
All right. Give me 1 sec here.
This conference is horrible.
I know.
Yeah,
there's a lot of surprises, but
it's really top. There's only really 2 top teams in Clemson and Wake Forest. But Clemson, towards the when they nearly lost to North Carolina, their season was kind of looking like, well, they may not be what they were last year whenever Trevor Lawrence came in and played really well. But after the North Carolina game, Clemson's been doing pretty good. They beat Boston College pretty convincingly, 59-7. So they might have turned the corner there. Some other games. Louisville beat Virginia. They're both 5-3 and 3-2 in the ACC. And North Carolina beat Duke 20-17. Those were kind of the bigger games in the ACC. My rankings for the top 5 go Clemson, Wake Forest, Louisville, Virginia, and North Carolina. I put Louisville ahead of Virginia because they just beat them, and I think Louisville. I think they have a better resume than Virginia does in terms of wins.
Well, Virginia was ranked for the majority of the first half of the season.
That's true.
And they fell off, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Yeah. That's
all of these 4-4 and 5-3 squads. That's ridiculous.
It's really hard. It was really hard to pick, but I put North Carolina 5 because they almost beat Clemson.
Right.
So I think they deserve the 5th spot.
Yeah.
Mac Brown turning that program around.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Yeah, I agree.
Getting there.
Yeah. There's not a lot of good games that ACC had, so we don't really get into all those games because, I don't know.
You want to go look at a good conference, you go do Pac-12.
Pac-12.
That's right.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. What about you, Sebastian? What are you thinking?
It's pretty much what Brody had. Clemson, obvious number 1. Wake Forest, they're sitting at 6-1. So, UNC, I have them a little higher than Brody, actually. Had them about 3rd spot. They've just kind of been impressive, before Matt Brown got there to what they are now. It's not easily. They got Virginia Tech. I actually had Virginia Tech / Louisville. Couldn't really pick on those 2, so I kind of just split them. So.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Did any game this week surprise you of ACC?
No, not really. it's the ACC. There's nothing too crazy going on over there. I'm not really high on Clemson just because they haven't really played anybody. We'll get into it later, but they're not in my top 4.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, one surprising game would be probably the Louisville beating Virginia. Probably the only surprising game, but
it's amazing what happens when you fire Bobby Pete. The turnaround there. I don't know.
Yeah, true. Okay.
Well, we need that turnaround then.
Well,
Yeah,
according to
I
all
guess.
We're still looking for it.
Well, I mean, if look at Clemson. Morris left. Look what they're doing. SMU. Look
Fire
what they're doing
Chad,
after
go
Morris left.
undefeated, baby.
Exactly. So we fired Chad, and see what happened.
Yeah.
I'm down with it.
But all right, Jacob, what do you think about the ACC right now?
Oh, I agree. I mean, the ACC, the only thing that you can credit Clemson is it's not their fault that the rest of the conference is horrible. But then if they know that their conference is horrible, then that's when you take the advantage to schedule some tougher non-con.
Yeah, well, they thought Texas A&M would be tough non-con, and look at them.
Well, that's their hardest game outside of North
Yeah.
Carolina.
Yeah, and that like I said, I wasn't too impressed with that. So
Resume there. I mean, Clemson, Wake Forest are their clear 1 and 2.
Mhm.
Louisville got a big win with Virginia. They're starting to slowly rebuild the dumpster fire that Bobby Petrino left them in. And I actually have Pitt as number 4.
Yep.
They actually could be a 2-loss team, maybe even 1 loss. They've lost 2 games, especially the Penn State game in the beginning of the season. Really close games. They had a chance to pull it off, but they just let it slip. So I have them at 4, and then it's between Virginia and Virginia Tech for 5. But outside of Clemson and Wake Forest, there's really no. I mean, it really doesn't matter. There's so many 5-3, 4-4 squads that, I mean, those 2 teams are the only clear shot. And I mean, if Wake Forest were to beat Clemson, I don't even know. I feel like if Clemson were to lose a single game, then they would 100% be out just because their schedules is
for sure
tough. So I don't know.
I'm surprised how bad Miami's been recently.
Well, they fired Mark Richt. They got. I will say, I
thought he was going to do decent down there. Honestly,
Yeah.
I did.
I don't know why he resigned so early. I mean, he was there 2-3 years and then quit or resigned.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I don't remember. Did they ever crack the top 25 or no?
They did.
Yeah, they were ranked.
They did in his first year or 2, but that was just based off reputation. And then
it's the U, baby.
Yeah.
And Mark Richt
They
always
were
being
ranked last year.
constant
Were they?
9-3 squad. Literally, Mark Richt at Georgia went 9-3 every season he coached.
Hey, Richt, where are we
I
going?
mean, I guess that's not awful,
9-3.
but I mean, it's not what you would expect the University of Miami to be. So,
especially with the GOAT at the helm of OC, that being Dan Enos.
Yeah.
he knows.
Big
I don't
Van
understand
Dan.
how they're not 8-0 at the moment. They should be putting up close to 80 points per game.
Is he still down there right now?
Him and Mark Rodriguez. I can't remember the head coach's name, but that's a 1-2 punch. They got. I was watching them at the beginning of the season, and that's the most hair gel that I've seen between 2 coaches in my entire life.
Oh god.
I haven't watched them play at all this year.
Yeah, but another visual representation of that conference right behind me. Plain and simple. That's all I got.
All right. Well, my top 5 is, I mean, it's going to be Clemson. Wake Forest is my 1 and 2. But I actually, I'm going to put Pitt at being my number 3. And then my number 4 probably have to be Florida State, Louisville. And then 5 would probably be Virginia. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really watched a lot of their conference or a lot of them play, so I'm not really too sure with the ACC.
It's like the great value of the SEC. Everybody beats up on each other.
Oh wait, no, that's Big 12. That's Big 12.
Yeah, that's Big 12 for sure.
Big 12. But yeah, okay. Well, enough with the ACC. Let's go to the Big 10.
All right.
Big 10. There actually was a good game for the Big 10 this week. Well, it's supposed to be a good game, but didn't turn out.
Started off as one.
Yeah.
The Ohio
First
State and
half was good.
Wisconsin. Yeah, it was all defense. Chase Young had a very outstanding game. I think he had 5 sacks, which was kind of crazy. But yeah, Ohio State definitely ran away with it.
Hello?
Yeah.
And hello?
Brody?
Okay.
Brody's choking.
Brody's gone.
See you later.
But Ohio
Hello?
State ended up just destroying Wisconsin.
There we go. I'm back.
And he's back,
sorry.
ladies and gentlemen.
There you go. Okay.
Like you
All right,
never
well,
left.
Yeah. Well, Ohio State destroyed Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So that was kind of big. Wisconsin dropped far. They're 18th now. But we'll go with you, Jacob. What do you think about the games and what surprised you?
Well, we got
And
to
then
watch.
you-
Yeah, we got to watch that game together, and we were just kind of talking about like it was a defensive showdown. How Wisconsin's got the best like third down defense in the country, and they've been solid all year, and they were in the first half, and it was a rainy game, so there wasn't a whole lot of passing going on, and I think that actually worked to Ohio State's favor just because Wisconsin, they obviously want to run the ball first with Jonathan Taylor, and if Ohio State as a defense can force Wisconsin to get out of their comfort zone, then that's where I think they excel, and that's what they did. I would have liked to see Wisconsin be a little more aggressive, just because the throws that Cohen was throwing were good balls, but they just kept trying to do these conservative stretch plays to Jonathan Taylor or right up the gut with him, and it was literally getting nothing. He was getting smoked. He had his lowest career yard per carry and 2.6 yards per carry that game. So I think Ohio State's legit, and it'll be interesting to see when they play Penn State, who's the more legit squad. So.
Yeah, that was really the other good game would probably been Indiana and Nebraska, which was a 7 points game. That was not really too big of a game.
No, I mean,
no. Well,
Iowa shut out
Michigan and
Northwestern.
Notre Dame. What do you think about that game?
The overhyped bowl. That's what that is.
No,
The
yeah,
overhyped,
man.
literally.
Yeah.
The overhyped bowl, and Michigan proved they were a lot better than Notre Dame, which I just never give Notre Dame credit. They're always top 10, and then they get exposed.
I'm honestly
Every
surprised
year.
Michigan won.
I'm surprised anybody won.
Yeah.
Can
it end in a tie? No.
No. Maybe if they went like forever and ever.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
But
That'd
yeah,
be-
so what do you think your top 5 is looking at in the Big Ten?
Who are you asking?
Jacob.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I'm going to go with Ohio State at 1, the clear-cut 1. I'm going to go Penn State at 2, and I think that'll be a big game. But Penn State has an obstacle this upcoming week in Minnesota, who's my number 3. They're still undefeated, 8-0. So I think they're low-key a sleeper team. I think they got a shot to prove just how good they are when they play Penn State. So I got Ohio State, Penn State, Minnesota, and I'd put Michigan. I put Wisconsin at 4 and then Michigan at 5.
Okay.
And I mean, honestly, that's not a bad top 5. Big Ten, they're top half of the leagues.
I think they're the
relatively
second toughest
strong.
conference right now.
They got some good squads. So I think it'll come down to that Penn State Minnesota game, and then obviously the winner of that, it'll come down to them versus Ohio State. So we'll just have to see.
Okay. What about you, Sebastian? What did you think?
Well, I actually have the exact same top 5 as Jacob. I was surprised by Minnesota. They were actually picked by some people to win the division before the season, so it's not too much of a surprise, but it's a team I wasn't really expecting to make a jump this year, and here they are, 3rd place in my rankings. So, but that game next week, like Jacob said, will kind of be a determining factor in that conference. Ohio State, I mean, who would have thought, right? You got Justin Fields back there. He's been dynamic the whole season. They actually have a complete team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win the championship this year. So Wisconsin, their defense, it was a little shocking this past weekend about how many points they gave up. It was a good game first half. I don't remember, they gave up like 3 points the first half, and then after that they kind of got blown off the hinges. But I guess you put
tired.
I guess so. I don't know what the deal was. And then you got Michigan. I just put Michigan up there because I don't think there's any other good teams after them, or decent teams after them. They're notorious for choking, and I'm, like I said, shocked that they won against Notre Dame. So,
All right. What about you, Brody? What you got?
Mine's pretty much the same as well. I debated putting Wisconsin at 5 and moving Michigan to 4, but at the end of the day, I still think Wisconsin's a better team than Michigan. I mean, you've got Jonathan Taylor back there, even though he hasn't really had past couple games. I don't think he's done very well. Ohio State, he didn't. He only had 52 yards.
He's
And,
been in a little bit of a slump.
yeah, and against Illinois, he had a good game. He had 132 yards and a touchdown, but I think Ohio State just shut him down. And I think starting next week, I think they'll get back on track. And who knows if Penn State beats Minnesota, they could possibly take that number 1 spot, or they do play their last. I think it's the last game of the year. It's Wisconsin and Minnesota, so that side of the Big Ten will be probably decided that week. And
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, I'm going to take Wisconsin in that one.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, you got to also remember that Wisconsin beat Michigan pretty handedly earlier in the season. So
Yeah, that was another point, but it was tough. That was a tough call to put Wisconsin above Michigan. But at the end of the day, that's what I looked at. I said, Wisconsin beat Michigan. That should be the deciding factor.
fair enough.
All right. Well, my top 5 is gonna be the same. You got Ohio State. I'll say Ohio State number 1.
Close.
You got Penn State going at number 2. My number 3 is going to be Minnesota. Obviously, they're undefeated, surprisingly. My number 4, I'm going to go with Wisconsin. I think they're still a good team. I think they're a really good team. I just think their minds is in a different spot, but I think they can bounce back from it and definitely prove themselves. But I'm going to have to go with my number 5 being Iowa. I'm going to take them over Michigan, even though Michigan did beat them.
Mm-hmm.
But it was only by a touchdown. But I'm still going to think Iowa's a better team than Michigan. So that's my top 5. And that way,
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I was on the fence with Iowa, too.
Yeah, they're a good team this year. So, okay. And that was okay. So let's go into the Big 12. We'll let you start it off this time.
Oh,
with
Lord.
with a really big game. We got Oklahoma versus Kansas State. What did you think about that game?
Well, I spent my majority of my time laughing. I mean, you saw on Twitter, I just had a bunch of fans of OU berating my Twitter after one tweet.
Yeah.
They
Roasted.
try to tear me up, but there's talking about their number 1 offense and their top 30 defense and trying to convince me. Yeah, it was. I don't know if it is now, but trying to convince me that there is actual defense in the Big 12. And then you saw that firsthand that it's not true. It's historically been bad, honestly. So
yeah,
and I don't know. I mean, Hurts is good. I'm not going to say that he's not. And OU's a decent team, but are they playoff worthy right now? No, not by any means necessary. And then you got Texas, who were declared back last year, losing to unranked TCU. Did y'all see those god awful uniforms too?
Those were hideous.
Those
get
were
beat by those and still have dignity.
Yeah, there they were. So, I mean, my obvious number 1 in that conference is Baylor.
Okay.
Until proven otherwise. I mean, I feel like that's a kind of a given. So, then I, for some reason, put OU at second, which, I mean, I feel like they're the second best team in the conference.
Yeah.
And then I have Iowa State, Texas, and then it was a draw between Kansas State and TCU at 5th.
Okay.
So,
yep.
I mean, that's
respectable list.
I don't understand how you can put this right here, Baylor as a 4-0, 7-0 team. That's, I believe, 0 losses to terrible teams.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
then you
that,
go
terrible
that's
to,
a
teams.
0.
You go to
Yeah.
Oklahoma and there's a 1 loss to terrible teams, and yet they're still ranked above Baylor. It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, but anyway,
No.
I
No.
mean,
whatever. It is what it is.
when do they play?
They play They play down the road a little bit.
Yeah, they
Down the
play
road.
on November 16th.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be a hell of a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they got to
They're
get past
supposed
TCU.
to have a good defense, so.
Yeah.
Interesting
Yeah.
to see.
All that
Baylor-
defense.
Supposed to.
All that
Supposed
defense.
to. Well,
I mean, if you look at Baylor beating Kansas State, Baylor beat them 31-12,
It's not bad.
and I mean,
Oklahoma
Baylor
just
was
gave
at
up
Kansas State too.
48 points.
So that's kind of I don't think you do it. All right, Jacob. So what's your top 5?
I got Baylor at 1, just unbeaten. So I mean, it's hard to dispute that. And then I'll put OU at 2, just because they beat Texas, and they do look like a better team than Texas. Texas saying we're back, but should have got beat by Kansas and got beat by TCU. No, not back. So Tom Herman's seat's still warm in my opinion. He's just underperformed ever since he got there. And then it's really hard for 4 and 5 spot, because I'm gonna put Kansas State as 4, and then the 5th spot could be Iowa State, TCU, or Oklahoma State. They've all pretty much beat each other up. I'm gonna go Oklahoma State, just because they beat Iowa State. I think that gives them an edge. But then again, you can make the argument for TCU because they beat Texas. So, not that the 5th spot necessarily matters in this conference, but I think the big thing for me is that I think Baylor, at least at the moment, current state, since they haven't played, should be ranked higher than Oklahoma, simply because they have 0 bad losses on their schedule and they're undefeated.
Facts.
Who would have thought that, though? A couple years ago, weren't they like 1-11? Baylor.
Yeah, they Art Briles, was that their head coach? Got fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's head coach at a high school in Texas now, I think.
Yeah, man, they're swinging. That's what gets me frustrated a little bit with the program of Arkansas, just because I've seen all these programs that have been horrible, been turned around shortly, and it's been 9 years for us. So, you know,
It's been a while.
I mean, even Kansas, they have more wins. You see this right here? They have a conference win, and they've won 3 games. And
I love it. I do.
that's my top 5. That's what I got.
All right, what about you, Brody?
I've got Baylor number 1, Oklahoma number 2, Iowa State 3, and I was with Jacob here. I put Kansas State at 4. Just coming up a big win against Oklahoma. I mean, you've got to put them in there. You just have to.
Yeah.
And they could beat Texas next week too, depending on.
They play like they did Saturday.
Yeah.
I think they'll beat Texas.
Yeah.
Or that one's the 9th, November 9th.
Mm.
They play Kansas next, so.
Oh, that'll be a good game.
Yeah. Never know.
And then for my 5th spot, I originally had Texas, but hearing everything that you were talking about and everything, I'm gonna have to put TCU at number 5.
Wow.
I think Texas got set back. I think they'd be like number 6.
They're back.
Yeah.
Can't believe he said that.
Not even top 25.
Hey, their GPA was the highest it had ever been at a 2.8, man. So give them some slack.
Well,
That's some
my top
real
five-
smart ones right there.
All right, well, my top 5 is going to be pretty quick. You got Baylor at number 1, Oklahoma number 2. You got Iowa State number 3. I'm going to say Kansas State's actually going to be my number 4. Texas, Texas ain't in my top 5 right there. Sam had a 4 interception game this past week.
It was not pretty.
Weekend. Yeah, and then I'm actually going with my number 5. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. I think they're a more talented team than TCU and Texas, but I think they just started off really slow. But I think they'll pick it up. I don't know if I doubt they'll be able to sneak in unless they just decided to beat Oklahoma and them again. But I don't think they have a chance. But I'm going to put them at my number 5.
Okay.
There's Mike Gundy. I like him a lot better than any other coach.
The mullet, the waterfall, Arkansas waterfall.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, enough about the Big 12. Let's get into the Pac-12. This is
Mm-hmm.
there's some crazy teams in here. We can go with the. We'll start with you, Brody. There was a big game. There's actually 2 big games. The big one was Oregon barely pulling it out against Washington State, and you also had USC barely beating Colorado as well. What did you think about those?
So the Oregon-Washington State one, Jacob and I watched last night. We watched the ending of it, and it was just crazy.
It was.
It was insane. They, what was it? Washington State. No, Oregon stopped Washington State, and Washington State kicked a field goal to get the lead, 35-34.
Yeah.
And then Oregon just they had about a minute left.
You're wrong. Hold on, let me
and
correct you real quick.
what was it?
Washington scored. They scored a touchdown. That was like, wasn't it 4th down? Inside the goal, they ran that little slant route right across the middle to score to pull within 1, or to be up by 1.
Yeah, that's right.
It was 34-28, and then Washington State scored to make it 35-34.
That's right.
And then,
That's right. I forgot about that. They ran the slant route, scored. Oregon had about a minute left, drove all the way down the field and scored, or kicked a field goal to win. And yeah, it was a really good 4-quarter from what I saw. 2 teams.
Was Mike Leach happy?
Oh yeah, Mike Leach was happy. He's still debating the who would win the mascot.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. That one was a good one. USC beating Colorado. USC is kind of like you could argue they're kind of like the Texas of the Pac-12. Haven't been good for a while, but claim that they're back.
They haven't been good since the last time Texas was good. So
They ain't been good since Reggie Bush.
yeah.
Actually, not.
Sam Darnold. 2 years ago, I mean, they weren't that bad. They went 10-3.
Yeah, that's true.
Beat Penn State in that thriller in the bowl.
That is true.
Yeah.
So, for my top 5 in the conference, I've got. I messed this up. Hang on.
Wow, unprofessional. Hate to see it.
Hate to see it.
Number 1, I've got Oregon.
Boo.
Number 2, I've got Utah. Number 3, I'm gonna put USC in there because they're 4-1 in conference play.
Okay.
Number 4, I have Stanford. They do have a win over Washington, which was the big factor for me, I thought, and putting them at number 4. And they did lose to UCLA and USC. And then my number 5, I put UCLA.
Okay.
Wow.
I can kind of respect that. I don't like one thing about your 1 and 2.
3 and
but
5 UCLA squad jumping in there, huh?
I mean, they beat Washington State when they were ranked, and they beat Arizona State. They had 2 ranked wins, so it was hard to keep them out.
Okay. All right, Sebastian, what about you?
Well, we got Oregon, Utah, and USC, my top 3, and then after that, I pretty much just closed my eyes and picked schools. I feel like there's after those 3 schools, I mean, there's not much there. Oregon, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think the downfall of Oregon because I mean, yeah, think about what they were a few years ago with Kelly out there as head coach and all the talent they had, Mariota and all those guys, and
they used to have a lot.
They used to be feared, and now they're just middle of the pack. I feel like in college football, and but Utah's right there on their back doorstep. So, I mean, I put USC there just because the tradition. I feel like, I mean, they've had a decent season, but I put Washington after them and Arizona State. I think Arizona State has a win over Michigan State. and that's the only reason I put them in my top 5. This conference is just, I don't know. I had a lot of trouble picking on this one outside of the top 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of tough.
It's a very weird conference.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I kind of wanted to put Washington State in there just because Leach, but and they're usually pretty good, or salty year to year, but this year they're kind of struggling, it seems like. So I kind of left them out of it and just rolled with Washington and Arizona State. So
Right. Okay.
yeah, that's kind of what I got with the Pac-12. Nothing exciting there.
All right. What about you, Jacob? What you got going on?
Well, I'm actually gonna put just based off performance, I'm gonna put Utah above Oregon. Simply, I know they have a conference loss, and it is to USC, but they at this current moment they look like a little bit better of a team.
And they shut out UCLA.
Cal was a good squad,
They're not
and they handled them 35-0. So
yeah.
they looked good, and Oregon kind of struggled with Washington State. But I mean, those 1 and 2 are interchangeable. Both those squads look like the clear-cut 1 and 2 out of the Pac-12. But I'm gonna put Utah above Oregon just to be different. We'll see. And then I do have USC as number 3. I'm trying to see. Yeah, Arizona State does have a win over at Michigan State, and then they beat Cal at Cal. They've lost to Utah, but again, like that 4 and 5 is kind of hard to distinguish.
Close your eyes and pick. That's what I do.
If you're gonna go based off who looks better, I think Washington looks good, and so does Arizona State. Granted, Arizona State had a bad loss, but if you're gonna go conference, then you got to throw in a 3 and 5 UCLA squad up in there, and an Oregon State squad. So or even Stanford. So I don't even know. I mean, not that they're kind of like the second team and the Pac-12 North, Oregon State at 3 and 4. So I mean, like outside of Oregon and Utah, it really doesn't matter. So
yeah. Do you think Kelly gets UCLA turned around or no? I'm not convinced yet.
I ain't either.
I
What
feel like
year
they've
is
been
this?
second. He's the same year as Morris.
It's
He's struggling, but I mean he's getting wins, I guess.
He's got some conference wins, so
right.
More than Morris has.
All 3 of
Not
his
the same
wins are
conference. Not the same conference, but
right. I mean, all 3 of his wins are conference wins, so at least he's trekking in the right direction. At least his fan base sees a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
That's. I don't know if he's necessarily the answer.
Yeah. It's just crazy because you look at what he had at Oregon and look at what he has. I mean, I know it's year 2 at UCLA, but you're so used to seeing the high, the speed and all this stuff, which I think they have. But like with Morris, I feel like he doesn't have all of his guys in there yet. So
you gotta give him 1 more year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go with my top 5. I'm gonna go with Oregon number 1, or actually no, I'm going Utah number 1. Like Jacob said, Utah has been looking very dominant, so as recent. So I'm gonna go with them. Number 1. My number 2 is gonna be Oregon. And number 3 is gonna be USC. My number 4 I'm just gonna put Stanford. And then my number 5, I'm gonna put Oregon State.
Okay. It's crazy the downfall of Stanford too.
Yeah, ever since Christian McCaffrey left. All right, let's get into actually our favorite conference, the SEC.
Yay.
Yeah. So we'll start with you, Jacob. We had it really wasn't really a big game except for the LSU and Auburn. As we also it might have been the only
Alabama, Arkansas.
That was
we can talk about the Alabama, Arkansas. We can get some Chad Morris talking.
That was a thriller.
That was a thriller.
Yeah. Well, you had actually Kentucky beating Missouri, which was huge too.
Laughed at that one too.
So, what's your take on it, and what's your top 5?
My top 5, I'm gonna have LSU at 1, just because they have a better group of 3 wins than Alabama does. And not to say, Alabama's a bad team. Obviously, it's Alabama, LSU are the clear-cut 1 and 2. But current resume at this moment, LSU's been a little more battle tested, and they're still 8-0. So I'm gonna put them at 1, Bama at 2, more of like a 1A, 1B, whatever you want to say. And I'm gonna go Florida 3. Florida 3. I'm gonna go Georgia 4, and I'm gonna put Auburn 5. I think Auburn's kind of had probably one of the tougher schedules. I mean, opening with Oregon and then having to play LSU, Florida. They've, their 2 losses are to 2 of the best teams in college football. So they've just had a tough schedule. Of course, that's what you get when you play in the SEC and not the Pac-12, Big 12. But I still think they're one of the best teams in the country. They're just young. I mean, Bo Nix is a young quarterback. He's just, he's got to kind of settle in, and I think they'll be just fine. Gus is a good coach. So I think it really depends. That Florida-Georgia matchup this upcoming Saturday is huge for the East. Whoever comes out of that, I think's going to the SEC championship. And then, of course, LSU and Alabama both have byes this week, and then they play next week down at Birmingham. So that obviously will decide the West. So I'm thinking if I had to pick, I would like to see LSU go to Alabama and beat Alabama, and I think I got Florida as a better team than Georgia. So
you know what's going to be crazy about the East if Missouri comes around and beats whoever wins out of the Florida and Georgia. That would cause a lot of
triple,
stir in there.
Do all that head-to-head or whatever it is.
Yeah, that would just be crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if Missouri can do it.
It depends if they play at home or away. They're 5-0 at home and 0-3 away. So
yeah,
just have to look at the schedule.
5-3 away. But 0-3 away. Yeah, they suck on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you think about Sebastian? What do you think about
it? Well, I think Bama's number 1 until they're beaten. It's just how I see it. I mean, LSU's right there with them, but until you beat the number 1 team, I think you're second. I mean, that's just how I see it. That's how I always see it. So it's Bama, LSU, and then you got Florida above, and then I got Auburn, and I got Florida third because they just beat Auburn, and I feel like Auburn is just a better team than Georgia.
Okay.
I don't know.
I
don't know. I feel like Auburn will beat Georgia right now, and then I don't know. Yeah, that game between Florida and Georgia will be. I don't know. It's and I mean, it's all loaded right there. I mean, it's a top-heavy conference. I mean, you can't argue with Bama and LSU. I mean, they've just shown all season long. You got Burrow and Tua. Of course, Tua's hurt a little bit right now, but hopefully he gets healed up by the time that game comes around. I don't know. I feel like Auburn has some firepower on offense, and they've always had a top defense. And I feel like Georgia right now has a lot of offensive issues going on. I feel like there's something going on there, and they're not clicking on all cylinders, and I feel like that's their issue right now. But if they get it figured out, then who knows? They might beat Florida and be in the SEC championship, and you never know. That's the great thing about college football. Any given Saturday. So
I think go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm good.
I was just saying the whole time that you were talking, I think I was circling a sleeper team that nobody was talking about between us two.
All right.
I don't know who all could see
Are you
that,
circling Arkansas?
I am.
You never know. Went out.
Never know, baby.
Hey, at least they have some. Nope, never mind. I thought y'all won on the road. Never mind.
Win on the road. What?
Nope.
We don't know what the road means.
You know what's crazy? Is there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams I have not won on the road in the SEC.
It's a hard place to play.
Winning on the road for us is stopping at a gas station for a candy bar.
No. Before or after the game?
Yeah.
Both.
All right, Brody, what's your top 5?
I'm gonna have LSU at 1. Let's see here. I know Alabama's schedule. I think they versed. I'm gonna give them the benefit here of being number 1 because they played a little bit better opponents than Alabama so far this season. That's what gives them the edge to me. And with Tua being out, I think you've also got to put LSU number 1 for that reason as well. Alabama, of course, number 2. I put Florida at 3. No, they've just been incredible this year. Besides their 1 loss to LSU. I mean,
Right.
but it was against LSU. They have a dominant defense, and they've been able to get it done on offense this year as well. That was the biggest thing coming into this year was we knew that they were probably going to have a pretty good defense, but we didn't know how their offense was going to look. But so far this year, they've looked pretty good.
Yeah.
At first, I did have Georgia at 4, but I think I'm with Sebastian. I think Auburn is a better team than Georgia, so I'm putting Auburn at 4 and Georgia at 5.
Okay. I like it. All right. Well, my top 5 is I'm going to have to put LSU just because they do have a better resume.
I'm sure that's hard for you.
But I'm going to say Bama does. I think Bama's offense is a little bit better than LSU. So I don't know that they're both ones. It's hard to put 1 and 2. But if we're going to go by like resume, LSU has a better resume than Alabama. But it will be decided in a couple weeks anyway. So my number 3 is Florida. I think Trask is good. I think Dan Mullen's doing better than what he has been doing at Mississippi State. And then my number 4 is definitely Auburn. I think if Bo Nix can figure it out, I think they would just be a dominant team. They have a good defense, and their offense isn't bad either. They have a pretty good running back. And then Georgia is number 5. They just haven't been looking like Georgia has in a couple years or past couple years. So, I mean, it's going to be kind of crazy. But, you know, like next week, you have who's probably going to win the East. That's decided next week. And then the week right after, you have who's going to decide the West. So I think that's going to be fun to watch these next couple weeks. Yeah. Do y'all want to go into some highlights right now? Highlights of the past week? Or y'all got any games y'all want to talk about?
Did y'all see how Kansas won, though?
Yes.
Yes. Brody showed
That was
me
hilarious.
That was one of the funniest endings I've ever seen.
Gets the field goal blocked. Guy tries to return it. Gets stripped. Guy falls on it. Kansas gets the game-winning field goal. Like, it's just like...
That's hilarious.
Oh, jeez. I did not see
goodness.
that.
Yeah.
Do you have that one, Jacob? Do you have that one?
I'm sure I could find it.
You need to find that so
Yeah,
Chris
find
can
that.
see
I
that.
haven't seen that. Who did they beat? Who did they play?
Texas Tech.
If I believe so myself.
I see Texas taking some lessons from Arkansas, it seems like.
Yep.
Get the field goal block and then try to return it. And
Texas Tech
Yes,
learned
sir.
it from us, and then Baker Mayfield learned it from Texas Tech.
Yeah. Let's see if
That's funny.
let's see if I can find it on here. I mean, one
It
game.
might be on the highlights, so.
I was gonna say. Well, I was trying to find the game. One game that that's kind of surprising is this team right here, SMU. They play Memphis next week. That's a primetime game, if I remember correctly.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be a good one. A shootout.
I mean, Tulsa missed a game-winning field goal to beat Memphis too. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that might be a less of a game if that happened, but
Right.
I don't know.
Memphis
But yeah.
is favored to win, too, against SMU.
SMU is kind of a surprise team, though, for sure. What, they're
Just gotta get
15
rid
right
of-
now?
You just got to get rid of Chad Morris, and then your team becomes good.
Hey, you know who else you can't sleep on?
Who?
Appalachian State.
That's right. Let's see.
Undefeated.
I'm sure it'll be towards the end. All right. Let's.
It's wild.
3, including this
Here we
game,
go.
out of their last
Driving down
6
the field.
to get bowl eligibility. Fires Stanley's complete. It's inside the 40.
I will give Les Miles credit. Kansas is
with a big catch for
looking
KU.
better.
A 20-yard
Yeah,
gain
they're
for
not
Lassiter.
too bad. I mean, it's Kansas in his first year. I mean, what can you
Look at it. Look at it.
Here it is, Chris.
The junior from Choctaw, Oklahoma, from 40 yards out. And the kick
Block
is
it.
blocked.
Catches
Go
it.
down.
Zach McPherson pitches it.
So Kansas jumps on it. They get the ball with 1 second, but they put another
1
second on the clock, I think.
1 second.
And Les still has timeouts.
This would
West still has timeout, so it goes timeout. They kick it, and they win.
That is hilarious.
That is the greatest win I think I've ever seen.
That is hilarious. That is something else, man.
I bet
That
that coach was happy.
That kid's gonna have nightmares for like a year
Yeah.
thinking about him.
I'm sure he's off
dropping
the
that ball.
team.
He's probably walking.
He kicked him.
He gonna walk back to campus.
Yeah.
Hey,
You
he's
saw-
not as dumb as that Arkansas guy with the kickoff where he stepped out of bounds on the 2-yard line.
That happened
Oh,
twice,
yeah.
bro. Like, get off our backs, man. We're idiots, all right?
My bad. I didn't know
Yeah.
it happened twice.
We don't know how to play football anymore, all right?
We really don't.
Well, the first one counted as a touchback because he didn't step out yet. He caught the ball and then
He fair caught it.
Fair caught it, but the other guy didn't.
Mhm.
Yeah, he picked it up and walked.
Yeah,
What an idiot.
so talented.
Not really following
Talented.
the whole, I mean, we could watch the recaps of probably the best game of the.
I'll pass.
That'll be way too
No,
quick.
I will pass on
I
that.
was on the edge of my seat for the first minute, and
Yeah.
I got up and left.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Great game.
I want to see the OU one again.
Yeah, let's
the
watch the
highlight-
OU one. That was the biggest one.
Okay.
We'll watch the little highlights, kind of talk about what
Underthrown,
I
making
was
the
giggling at the little
adjustment
girl.
and hauling it in is Lee Morris.
His offense.
It's pretty
Hurts
crazy.
on a rollout on third down. Here comes the blind side
Nope.
pressure from
not
Wyatt
Fumble.
Gilbert. The ball's out again.
The squad put up 41 points. The defense gave up 48.
Perkins perfect so far on the season. His
That
season
defense.
long, 34 yards.
Their offensive
This would
line is
be
not that good.
comfortably his season long, but
Because every
he
time
has
I
no
watch
issue.
Oklahoma, he's
Drills it
always
right
running.
down the middle.
Yeah, but that's just how Jalen Hurts plays, I think, too.
High
And the
snap,
fact that he's their leading
backwards
rusher for
pass.
that game is
CD Lamb right
ridiculous.
back to
Oh,
Hurts.
this was a
It's a trick
crazy
play,
play, too.
and it
Yeah.
works to
Wide open.
perfection.
How do you not-
See, that was,
But-
that was an interesting play right there. That
Down
was like
the
a little
sideline
double
and tripped
screen
up inside the
flea
10.
flicker.
They ran another one, and it didn't go so well here in a little bit. I'm sure it's on here.
Hurts out of the pocket.
Yeah, I
He's
get
gonna try to
picked.
run for it.
You talking about with the receiver?
Pushing
Yes.
the pile.
He threw an
Play not
absolute
dead
bullet
yet. He's at the
right
goal
to
line.
the
Yeah.
Is he in?
I'll give him
Oklahoma
that.
thinks it's a touchdown.
I'll give him that.
Touchdown.
Touchdown.
Yard line right there.
Yeah,
Faced
we
by
watched a
2
little
or
bit of
3
this
guys
game. We
on
watched it
Kansas
toward the
State.
end of this
Watch the leg
I
drive
had the whole game
and the
open
leg
in the
drive, and
back.
obviously some of those
Oh.
big old
This was
linemen come
same
going
time
to
as
be
the
a CEO of
Wisconsin
some
game.
company in some
Yeah, I
someday
guess.
because he's special.
There's that
Gilbert with a big
notorious
run.
top 30
This is
defense.
Gilbert, Kansas State.
Yep.
Starting at their own 12-yard
So
line.
so
Early
impressed.
on, not to take hits.
Defense of the century.
Malik Knowles.
Put
He's
him on the
fighting through
Heisman.
injuries.
Look
He's
at that
trying to fight
tackling.
through Sooners.
Oh,
And
that
he's got
tackling.
first down.
I don't know. Why don't you get in front of him?
Thompson. Long throw, looking for
Look
Knowles,
at that
and he's
coverage.
got it. First down.
Nobody within 5 yards.
29-yard line of Oklahoma, a gain of 22.
Open
Okay,
up some play
I take
action
back
for
what
them
I said.
as
OG's
the game
defense
goes on.
is looking really good.
Starting to look like.
Blood.
I mean, they're looking like
Picks up a
a
first
solid
down.
defense. I mean, taking notes from
OU
Arkansas or
shows
something,
blitz.
I guess.
Yeah,
Malik
no, I
Knowles,
feel like it's also
hand fighting, flag out. He's one-on-one out there with a freshman.
Get a unfortunate,
Aiden Davis, the true freshman.
unfortunate pass interference call there.
Hold of Malik Knowles, and this should be a first down for Kansas State in the red zone.
Oklahoma
Two
was up
tight ends
10-0.
out there, both to opposite sides of the field. They're gonna run a little.
And then they
option.
remember that they're actually the University of Oklahoma. Yeah, that's
And let it
Whoever was
begin.
playing the quarterback right there,
Kansas State touchdown.
not on the field.
It's definitely
And
not
then
contained.
double A-gap
It's Stevie
pressure.
Wonder.
Low snap. Jalen Hurts trying to
guess.
adjust. Sidearms to
Stevie
throw.
Wonder and Ray
CeeDee
Charles
Lamb
covering the
getting loose
quarterback
down
and
the
running
sideline.
back there.
Is that
What
Lamb?
a play by
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts.
that was Lamb.
Keeps his composure, keeps his eyes downfield. Hurts into the
so
secondary.
much defense.
Running through tackles down to the 26-yard line.
Conference is full
He's
of
got a first down if the play stands.
Obviously.
I don't know
There's
if
a
it's the
flag
players
down.
or if it's just the coaches. Coaching just like, we're not going to learn defense.
You never know.
They just want to score points.
This was the play that
At the goal line,
They like
he's
to
in
win
again.
games, not win championships. So
Second rushing touchdown for Jalen Hurts.
6 yards.
I can't remember.
That's a play action for Thompson. Throws on the run. That's Jax Deneen. Freshman fullback makes a diving catch. Oh, you said that. There's a crease into the secondary for Gilbert.
Running back
Hurdles his way
I
down
could
to
have
the
drove through that hole
35-yard
and not
line
wrecked
before
my
he's
car.
brought down.
That's saying
End of the
something.
quarter. Looks like they're going to run a play, though. Hand it off to
It would have been
Riley.
close.
He's got a chunk play into the red
With the
zone.
red and white, it literally looks like I'm watching Arkansas's defense.
On second down at 10
Yep.
at the 20-yard line. As they're looking to score some points here with a handoff to Jordan Brown.
See, there you go. If you ever get caught watching an OU game or something by somebody, you can just say, "Oh, I thought it was Arkansas," judging by the colors and the defense.
Instead it's the underneath man. Joaquin Gill. A first down.
Get on.
He's throwing dimes.
Kansas State's quarterback.
Thompson finds Youngblood, and Youngblood finds the
This
end
is
zone.
Youngblood, Chris. That's what I was talking about.
That's Youngblood.
That's Youngblood.
Freshman Joshua Youngblood is able to score from 4 yards out.
Pretty good.
Snaps and go on the 10-play drive himself.
Play action. Seam
Yeah,
route.
this was my favorite game of
That
the
is a
weekend.
completion all
Sorry
the
if
way out
people
to
are seeing
midfield.
double screens of
2,000 more
Oklahoma's
yards than-
defense
That's
because there's
crazy.
a little screen right
And
here
they
that
get
has
CeeDee Lamb in
Oklahoma's
space
defense,
with a blocker
and then
out in
there's
front.
a screen down
He
below.
stays in bounds and picks up another first down.
More than the better.
Four-man rush. Hurts out of the pocket. Takes a wallop.
If you haven't
See,
noticed, guys, we're
this
down
is the
down
play
the
I was
game.
talking about, Chris. I think that should have been
Second down and
targeted.
one.
The dude lowered his head.
Quarterback draw for
defenseless
Jalen Hurts.
quarterback,
First
but
down and more.
I wanted
Inside
him
the
not calling
20.
it.
Well, if he's running,
Don't read to be in play.
I heard something to my left.
There he goes again. Tripped up.
If he was running,
Now
he's
what
not
does Lincoln Riley do?
defenseless.
It's fourth down and a couple.
Field goal.
In their offense back and make them drive the field again.
Sure, that hurt his little heart.
Yeah, he was so mad at the end of this game too.
Oh, he was livid.
And Burkich is good from
Pretty
25
sure
yards
Kansas State
away.
scores
For
before
the
the half,
football
too.
right now.
Wow. Thompson on
I
a
think this
rollout.
is when Kansas State goes up.
Sings one to the sideline, and Dalton Schoen makes the catch.
I think they go on like
Drop
this
back
long
whatever they
run.
want.
I think the half's like 24-23.
Straight ahead
if I
run.
remember.
Gilbert
There's running back. There's
spins,
Youngblood.
goes to a first down. Your Oklahoma's going to put up.
You
Four-man
know he's
rush.
good if his last name.
Wide open. It's Joaquin Gill.
If you're not good,
First down and more to the 20-yard line. That's
You know
a
the
fourth
defense
down
good when every
conversion
time the
and a
quarterback
big one.
throws the ball, the commentator goes, and he's got a man wide open.
Quick out. Short of the first down.
Did he
Here's
catch
Wheeler.
that?
And now you'd think that
No, I was
Oklahoma
about to
might
say,
call the
he's gonna
timeout.
catch. Field goal.
He was put on scholarship after the first game last year.
Yeah. 24-23, it's I
And
think
he
leads the
connects.
halftime score.
Down to 53 seconds.
Well, you know the
Never mind,
quarterback
I
for
mean,
Kansas
Hurts,
State got laid.
backwards
after
pass.
this game.
Oh,
Here's
this is
another
it,
trick
Brody.
Play. Basquin pulls it down.
Yep.
Now he's going to fire one.
Perfect.
I
Perfect.
remember that play. I was yelling at you.
Yeah, you were yelling at me to watch
It's
it.
like you watched this play.
So,
Oklahoma
so
shows
in this
blitz.
game,
Here
the
they
running
come.
or their
Quarterback
quarterback
Skylar
actually
Thompson,
didn't
one-on-one.
throw a passing
Breaks a
touchdown, but he
tackle.
rushed for
Touchdown.
4.
Hey,
Telling you, he got
do,
laid. He got laid.
gotta do what you gotta do. Whatever it takes to win.
Jalen Hurts to throw. He's going to go downtown.
And beat the dominant team
Climbing
of
the line to
Oklahoma.
make the catch is
Yeah,
Rambo.
24-23.
Lincoln Riley might have to call timeout. Nope, they get the play off. Hurts. He's in trouble. He goes down. Is he in field goal
That's
range?
crazy. You
Dude
don't
drills a
really
50-yarder or something.
Looks like this time Kansas State will not call the timeout. Here's the 50-yard attempt. Plenty of distance.
And it's
It is good.
Fine. That was a good kick.
So his
I'm
first
surprised
down.
they even have a kicker on the
Still
roster.
1-point lead. Here's Gilbert again, trying to get out wide. And does.
They had to
for
sign
six.
one.
Picks up a first down and more.
This is when
Three-man rush.
Kansas State
Thompson
made it on him.
takes a shot for
Yep.
showing up the seam,
Third.
and he's got a first down.
Getting
OU
ahead.
shows
And
blitz,
then they
here
got,
come. It's picked up.
then they started
Shot over the
choking
middle,
for a
and it's
little
broken up.
Yeah.
It's getting off the field.
Blake Lynch so far this season, 8 for 9.
Bang.
Fine,
Dude,
fine.
I
Make
just-
it
I
9
did
for
that.
10.
It's so weird when they're on the right hash and they're
Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he's got a
right
chance.
foot.
Thompson on a bootleg.
Little
Breaks
odd.
one downfield for Schoen. Drops it in. Bubble screen. Phillip Brooks.
This made up for Arkansas getting blown out. I'm not
Close to
gonna
a first
lie.
down. Steps out right
100%.
at the marker.
Yeah. I mean, y'all weren't expecting
Quarterback
to win
run.
Oklahoma.
Skylar Thompson. He's got another
Yeah,
K-State
I'm
touchdown.
expected to win.
Already 34 points on the board for Kansas State, and they will pooch the kick short.
Oh.
Lands in no
I
man's
can't
land.
watch that.
And it's taken
Oh,
by
yeah.
K-State thinks
Sebastian, did you see this?
No, I didn't actually ever see the actual injury.
You would have to
Oh,
find
you
here
watch
it
it
is.
right
Watch
here.
Allen coming from the right
Number
side of the screen
one.
right there. Number
Watch
one.
number
He
one
popped
if you
that
can.
ball
He's the
out.
one who caused the
And it looked
fumble.
like Samuel
I
Wheeler
don't
at the
have to
bottom.
look it
Watch
up
him
on my
turn
phone.
his
Yeah, I
knees
can't see.
up, right?
Yeah,
Protect the
Here,
football.
you'll
It's
see it.
almost-
They'll show. Okay, thank goodness. I have the video.
It's so bad.
Trying to get outside as Gilbert gets down the sideline.
Did they ever say like
Close to
what
the
he did
first
to his
down.
leg?
So it's just a sprain, right?
Probably.
Play action off of it.
He just needs some
Thompson under
ice.
pressure, and he's going to go
Put some
down.
ice on it.
He needs some milk.
Yeah.
Thompson to throw instead. Down inside the 5-yard line to Wheeler.
Back run. You got to anticipate quarterback run.
There it
Rushing
is.
touchdown.
Thompson. At
Of
the
course.
goal line. He's in again. Fourth rushing touchdown of the game for Skylar Thompson.
Big opportunity afternoon right now.
Only a 3-man rush. Down the sideline, making a stumbling catch. Is
I'm
Jordan
sure the
No hesitation.
Kansas
The
State's
corner
only
drives
bar
out.
was hopping that
leaves
night.
Honey hole shot down the sideline.
Sure, they got
run.
they got
Skylar
drink
Thompson
drive everything.
Right up the
Yep.
middle. Easily picking up a third down conversion and a first down. Ball. And they run it here on 3rd down and 1. They certainly can. First down and more. Getting free. Jordan Brown.
And
looking for
we're
the
off.
pylon. Short of the end zone. But it's 1st and goal at the 2. He gets the handoff, and he gets a walk-in touchdown.
We love to see it. We love to see it.
And I think that was our last touchdown of the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Back to the
This is
offense.
when they started
Desperate
choking.
for points. Oklahoma.
They just had to hold on,
Tunnel screen. CD Lamb.
and they almost messed it up.
And CD Lamb just
CD
shows
Lamb
his
stays on
explosiveness.
his feet, and he will go the
He's so
distance.
freaking fast.
Just what the Sooners needed.
Poor tackling by
70-yard
Kansas State is
touchdown.
what that was.
That all the play action pass opens up these huge.
It was
chunk
poor
plays. They're
tackling
not a
and
drop
CD
back,
Lamb
chuck
made
it
him
all
pay.
over the place, explosive pass game. They're built to be in control. Defensively needs
Holy
to
crap,
tackle well in
Big
open
12
space.
Hurts out of the pocket.
defensive
He's gonna
player
run again.
just dump
He's got a
truck
first
somebody.
down.
Yep.
And tough to bring down.
Him in motion.
I thought they were going to chuck this away, honestly.
Hurts over the middle.
Almost did.
That's a first down catch inside the
That's
10-yard
Jalen
line.
Hurts stayed in there.
Instead, it is a quarterback sneak. Hurts pushes the pile, and that looks like it gets him across the goal line. No
I almost
signal
didn't want
as
to
of
say
yet from
anything
the
about
officials.
Oklahoma
There's the touchdown
until the game
call.
was over, but I couldn't help
He's eating it
myself.
up right now. You're gonna have to be willing to play some single.
Glad it didn't come to bite me. Come back to bite me.
He's under pressure here.
I literally at
Scrambles
this,
forward, and it
I think
looks
after they
as if
score
he's got
right
a first
here
down.
or kick a field goal, I was talking to Chris. I was like, "There's literally no
Pocket
chance."
pushed, and Hurts flushed.
Kansas
Throws it
State's
to a
throwing this so I
wide
can get
open
roasted
Nick
on Twitter.
Basquin.
You're covered 3.
yeah,
Make him
he
get
just
some
tweeted
completions and bleed the
something,
clock a little bit.
A shot over the middle. Lee Morris, the
Like
tight
that
end.
coverage is softer.
Inside
than
the 30,
Cottonelle
down to the
quarterback.
29-yard line.
Looks like Arkansas's coverage. Like they're playing like 40 yards off the ball.
Hurts out of the pocket
In
again.
front of
Throws one way across the field, across his body.
They remembered that they're
CD
in the Big
finds it
12, and
somehow.
they're like, oh, wait,
And now a decision to make. You need
we
a
don't
field
play
goal.
defense.
From 39. He's three
So
for
it
three
wasn't
today.
it wasn't after they kicked the field goal. It was after this very next
Gets it
play
away
when I
clean.
was like freaking out.
And knocks it through.
I think this is
Phil Brooks, either way the ball
that's
gets
right.
Yep.
This is when
This is the play of the game.
Nurkic. It squeezes through. Brooks after it. It's loose. Does Oklahoma have it?
This is
it
when,
looks like the
Lincoln Riley-
Sooners have
Lincoln
recovered.
Riley was.
he's like,
Happy.
there's no, like you can clearly see in the replay it hit the guy's knee for 10 yards.
Wild football bounce.
It took 'em a
or if this
minute,
I
but
was
they-
is an
freaking out, and
Oklahoma
Jacob
player
goes, "You
before it
almost
goes
got
10
me."
yards.
That's
right
unfortunate
there.
because he gets walked into the ball. Beautiful.
Mhm.
Love to see it.
State guy threw him down.
After review,
Anybody with that kind of hair
the ball
deserves
was
to.
illegally touched.
That looks like a typical Oklahoma
That
football
was the
player.
loss of
Love to see it.
Unfortunate. I keep forgetting they have Spencer Rattler as
There he is. There
their
he is.
quarterback.
He's pulling
And that will do it.
Who cries a lot in the SEC?
Said that Georgia deserved to win that football
Dan
game
Moore.
that day. And I think the same could be said today. Kansas State deserved to win this game.
And they end the true road winning streak
Love
for
it.
Oklahoma. What a win for
watch the big
Kansas
game.
State
Let's get
as they
into our
take down
Heisman
number.
candidates.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start with you, Brody. Who's your top 4 Heisman? With a sleeper coming in at number 5.
All right. This list is very hard. It's very hard because you had Jalen Hurts lose, which he had a good game, to say the least, but you also lost to Kansas State, which I think will affect him.
Okay.
And I took him down to number 2, and I have Joe Burrow number 1 right now.
Kai.
Okay.
So number 1 is Joe Burrow, number 2 is Jalen Hurts, and since Tua is out, I dropped Tua to my number 5 as of right now. And I replaced him with Justin Herbert at number 3 and Justin Fields at number 4. And then kind of a just honorable mention, somebody that could possibly sneak in to the Heisman race, which was what Chris was saying at the very beginning, is Chase Young for Ohio State.
Yeah.
He has 13 and a half sacks and 5 forced fumbles. So he's Ohio State's begging the Heisman voters to put him in there.
Yeah. Heisman's usually a quarterback's trophies nowadays.
Pretty much.
That'd be very interesting to see if they put him in there.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Sebastian? What you thinking?
Well, I have Burrow first, just because of the competition he's doing it against. I mean, SEC is the toughest league in the nation. And then you got Hurts. I think Hurts is a good quarterback. He obviously played for the University of Alabama for a few years and did some great things there. He's still doing great things at Oklahoma, even with the losses and all that stuff. Still talented, doing things with his legs, doing things with his arm. I think he's still talented. I still have Tua at number 3. Yeah, he's out with an injury right now, but that shouldn't take away from the quarterback that he is. It's not a serious injury. He'll be back hopefully in time to play at LSU.
Yeah.
He's done some great things at Alabama, just like Hurts did. But I do have Justin Fields at number 4. Ohio State. He's one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the nation, I feel like. He's got the speed. He's got the vision. He's got an arm. And I have a sleeper in there at, Jonathan Taylor, running back for Wisconsin. He's doing some great things over there as well. And obviously against some good defenses. Big Ten has some decent defense besides, the SEC.
Right.
It's not the Big 12 or Pac-12 over there. So he's running against some stout defenses and doing some great things. So, but yeah.
Sounds good. All right. What about you, Jacob?
I'm gonna go with Joe Burrows at 1. I think what he's doing at LSU. I mean, setting and breaking records like midway through the season. For LSU, I think you can't deny. I mean, he's special. He's doing his thing. He's efficient, and he's explosive, and he takes care of the football. So I think what he's doing so far, I mean, you can see it right here. He's 78.8% completion, so he's nearing 80% on a season, which if he accomplishes that, it's incredible. 2,800 yards, 30 touchdowns, only 4 picks. Like I said, what he's doing is incredible. I think even though OU lost, I still think Jalen's at number 2 just because Tua's been hurt. And what Jalen's doing has just been shadowed by his poor defense. Like, it's not his fault. He's putting up 40-plus points a game. He's still efficient, takes care of the ball. And the fact that he's nearing 1,000 rushing yards with 13 rushing TDs as well, I think he's just got a dynamic game. So I have him at the 2 spot, and I think I'll keep Tua at 3 simply because he's probably, when fully healthy, probably the best player in college football. I mean, to come in and take over in a national championship game, win it, and then continue that run through the season, it's incredible. So I got those 3 at 1 through 3. I think Justin Fields, I'll keep it 4 just because Ohio State's winning. I mean, they're doing it in dominant fashion, so it's kind of hard to take him out. He's doing some things with his legs, not so much of yards wise, but I mean he has 9 rushing touchdowns on the season, so that's that's something. I think Chuba Hubbard and J.K. Dobbins would be my other two that I think are slowly sneaking in. I think just simply because of Jonathan Taylor's. I mean, it's kind of hard because they do play in the Big Ten, so the defenses are. Big Ten's known for their defense, so he's struggling, and I think it's more of the fact that they don't necessarily have a passing game, so teams know how to play against Wisconsin, and yet he's still putting up incredible rushing stats. So I'm not saying I think those 3 running backs you could interchange. Now, do I think a running back's going to win? No, because like you said, it's been a quarterback trophy for the past how many years, excluding Derrick Henry. But it'll be interesting to see. I think it's between Joe, Jalen, and Tua at the moment, and I don't see anybody outside of those 3 winning. But again, like Bass said, it's college football, so I mean anything can happen. But that's what I still can't believe. This right here is what's cracking me up. Is this name right here, Sam Ehlinger? I don't know how he's still even in the conversation.
No, he shouldn't be in there.
After last night, he should not be
replace him for Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is. I about fell out of my chair. Did you see that?
Better than
I just feel like Justin Herbert's a better quarterback. But that's what I got.
All right. Well, my number 1 is going to be Joe Burrows, just because of competition. And
Shocker.
Absolute shocker.
Didn't see that coming. Didn't see that coming.
Okay, my number 2, I'm going to put Tua at number 2. I mean, yes, he's hurt, but I mean, I guess if he comes back for the LSU game and does really good, then I see him kind of maybe beating Joe Burrows on it. But I think Tua is being Tua, doing good. He had 29 touchdowns before he got hurt, and he was on a roll to break some good records. So I have him number 2. Number 3, I'm gonna have Jalen Hurts. He's a really good quarterback. Obviously, he can run. He can also throw. So, and then my number 4 is gonna be Justin Fields. He's doing really good. It's kind of funny because my top 4 were SEC quarterbacks or are SEC quarterbacks. But my sleepers is I kind of have 3. I got Chuba from Oklahoma State, the running back. I got CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma, and also have J.K. Dobbins for Ohio State. I think one of those could possibly sneak in and get in front of Justin Fields, but I'd be really interested to see. But it is a quarterback trophy. I still think it is. I don't know. I mean, there is good running backs. Having a year like Tua and Joe right now, so the only person close is Jalen, but it's gonna be very interested to see. Is there anything else y'all want to talk about?
Nothing that I can think of.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. Really.
I'm good.
Yeah. Really, everything else she wrote.
The only thing that I can think of is this right here is.
Oh yes.
This number right here, almost 58% of our viewers haven't subscribed.
What are you doing, guys?
We'd really appreciate it if you just click that little subscribe button. Takes a second.
Takes 1 second.
Yeah, and please give feedback. We want to hear what you guys think. Whether it be predictions, who's your sleepers, who's in top 4, Heisman, whatever it may be. So we enjoy reading those. So yeah, just hit that subscribe. That. I will say though that number's grown. It was like at 80%, so now it's gone down to 50.
Yeah, it was pretty high last time I looked.
That's pretty much all I got to say.
Yeah, share it, man. Share our podcast. Let people know. Give it to people who like sports. Share it. We're also going to be putting all this on iTunes here pretty soon, so be on the lookout for that. Follow our Twitter that way when we do, because we'll post on there. You can follow our Instagram too. We're going to start posting on there a lot more. Other than that, Brody, you got anything?
Leave us a like. And thank our special guest, Sebastian, for joining us this week.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I hope you liked it, Sebastian.
I did.
How did it feel?
I had a good time. It was I listen to podcasts. I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, and I've always kind of wondered what it's like to do a podcast or be on a podcast, and here I am on one. So it was a good time. Love talking football. So I thought I'd take the opportunity.
Yeah,
anytime. Just let me know.
Yeah. Well, if that's everything that everyone has to say, we want to thank y'all for tuning in. Like Jacob said, hit that subscribe. Also click the bell so you're notified when we post. Also, we might do a live stream podcast on YouTube. Follow our Twitter and stay posted if we decide to do that. Leave a like, share our video, put in comments your thoughts. And other than that, thank y'all, and we'll see y'all again.
See ya.
See ya.